just so we're a little bit closer to the broadband connection. I know last week we got cut off just before I ended, so I just want to make sure if everyone can hear me okay. Just let me know that you can hear me okay in the comments. I can see there's some of you already can. I'm just waiting on confirmation that all can be heard. We have a good show ahead of us today as well. Really, really important message. Something that's been weighing on my heart for a while. And we'll get straight in. As you can tell, I sound slightly sick, so I'm okay. I have some lemon and honey. I had a little bit of a cold, slight flu. It almost turned into a flu, but I'm on steroids and antibiotics, so I'm a little bit hoarse. But even though we're sick, we'll still fight through. We'll still get through this. It's an important message. You know, when we're doing videos like this and even trying to think of titles for this, I believe that the title is very, very important for what we're going to talk on. I believe it's something, even today talking with my wife and my mum, it's the right time. It's very, very important. I know a lot of us, many people that will be regulars to the channel, will be similar to myself, looking out for the signs. Can we interpret what's happening in the world? Are we getting closer to the return of Christ? And Scripture tells us we are to be looking out for those signs. We're told to keep alert. Scripture tells us, and it's very, very clear. In Matthew 24 says this, "But be sure of this, that if the head of the house had known at what time of the night the thief was coming, he would have been on alert and would have not have allowed his house to be broken into." So we as believers look at the signs, the things that are going on in the world, and we actually look past the curtain and see what's actually happening. You know, with today's one, I wanted to cover 3 specific topics just to show you exactly where the world is moving and what I think is the kind of the next phase of their plan, and then obviously some exciting stuff as well. I'm not going to keep you too long. I'm going to try to keep this to 15-18 minutes to get to the point of what we need to be looking at. You know, Jesus tells us some of the signs to look for. One of the major ones, and many people tell me, you know, all these signs of wars and rumours of wars and earthquakes and famines, etc., they've been happening for thousands of years. But what I can tell you now by fact, it has never happened. These signs that Jesus spoke about have never happened as much as they are happening now. And we're seeing that with such frequency and intensity like never before. You know, one of the ones I looked into today and yesterday was the whole thing of wars that's going on in the world. Now, obviously a lot of the stuff on the media and the television, the whole thing is Russia and Ukraine at the moment. That's where it's all kind of pinpointed, and you know, a lot of people think that's the only conflict that's going on at the moment. You know, there's 30 different kind of conflicts going on in the world. Some of them are civil wars, some of them are main wars, some of them are even ethnic wars, and then we have, obviously they throw in the drug wars there as well, which we will leave to the side. But at the moment, there's countries all over Africa that are going through what they call a terrorist insurgency. So loads of, we see it on the news, loads of stuff going on with those type of things. People getting killed because they might be Christian or absolute different faith to what these terrorists are. So we can know that that's happening everywhere. Sure, we could see what's happening with Russia, Ukraine. Now we see what's happening in Israel and Palestine with the rockets. Wars seem to be happening everywhere. There's even ethnic violence going on, so racial tensions at an all-time high. Both, and I mean, I know that the media tried to push the whole thing of black and white, but even in other countries like Africa, you'll have certain tribes that will go at each other. It's just happening everywhere at a very, very fast pace. And I wanted to kind of just show you this on the wars, that there's not just one war going on at the moment. For the last, I can say, probably 50 or 60 years, we know that the US was involved in a good few of them wars. let's be honest, we know what they do. They're a military machine, and they've been the police of the planet for a long time. So they're going to be involved in a lot of wars. A lot I don't agree with, and a lot I would agree with. But the wars have been increasing, and I always felt World War One combined with two was a trigger point for prophecy to let us know that we're drawing close to Jesus coming back. I believe we're very, very close. So wars is something that we should be looking at. You know, we see all of the nation rising against nation, kingdom against kingdom, ethnic group against ethnic group. This is all happening today, but it's happening everywhere. Some of the other things I've been looking into, most of you probably know Klaus Schwab. I've probably heard that name, the World Economic Forum. He was here for the last 3 years with everything that was going on. His face seems to be the face that is everywhere. But between the World Economic Forum and the World Health Organization, that's something I've been looking into. The new legislation that the WHO are looking to actually push through, they're in discussions and they've met up twice in the last 6 months to try push this through. We'll probably know in September. The bill that they're trying to put in, and I'll summarise this and you can go Google this, it's all there in black and white, is that if it passes, if all the countries agree to it, it means they hand over sovereignty in times of emergency. So they, the WHO, will get to dictate what each country does in that time of emergency, if they should lock down, if they should be travelling. That it's going to be a group of people who haven't been elected to control countries and the sovereignty of other countries. Now, when I look at this, between that and the World Economic Forum with their green agenda, all of this is part of what we call the big system. Something that's going to come into play and something that's going to cause this to happen quickly, I believe, will be the rapture of the church. And I believe that this is going to kick the big system into play. Now, today's whole thing is not to do with the rapture when it happens, but I believe the big system is very, very close to coming. All of the pieces are starting to line up. It's so hard to keep up with everything that is happening. And you know, today talking with my wife, and I was talking about the different watchmen that are out there, and it's great to have different people talking in different parts of prophecy, because me personally, as a one-man band here, I can't cover everything that's going on. So we'll focus in on some of the stuff that I've been watching for the last few years. And I love being able to share this and opening this up to people with the ultimate goal to draw them to Jesus Christ. Because at the end of the day, this is all about Jesus and the gospel of Jesus and bringing him there. But to get back on point, don't be surprised if we're going to see in the next 3 months coming into the summer, laws change radically in certain countries. Even here where I'm from in Ireland, they're trying to bring in a speech law that is going to be so like going back hundreds of years, bring us back in time, so strange. But this is all part of the plan, because the more restrictions they have on people, when the time comes for the Antichrist to take his stand, with these laws in place, nobody will be able to come against them. And if they do, as the world comes together as one state, they'll be called an enemy of the state. And you know, when there's a time of panic, we look at what happened in the last 3 years. People would have openly and been happy with people that didn't take their solution to be sent off to camps. Can you imagine the tribulation period and what it's going to be like? People will hand over anybody as long as they secure their own safety. They'll give away all of their freedoms and their liberties just to feel like they have some sort of safety. So we know that these things are lined up. These things are going to happen. So be looking out for both the World Health Organization and the World Economic Forum. It's very hard keeping it up kind of with both of them at the same time. I'm trying my best to line them all up and send them straight out to you. Another trigger point for me, most of us have probably heard over the last kind of 6 to 8 months, this whole thing of digital currency. Now, I can personally say for me, it's been a long time since I've used cash, really long time. I don't really carry cash, but I want the option to be able to use it. Now, what they're looking to do in the US, this is something I had to do a good study from last night till tonight. The Federal Reserve is looking to use their system to bring out the digital currency. Now, if that happens and the Federal Reserve get control of that, that ain't going to be good. They shouldn't have control over what way payments and all are done. That should be really, it should be elected by the people and what way they want to do. Cash should always be a legal tender. But let's be honest, anyone that's studied eschatology or end times or Bible prophecy know that in that 7 year period when the Antichrist comes to power, we know that the false prophet, we know that they're going to introduce a system where you'll need to take the mark in order to buy and sell. In order to do this, you need to try to get away from the cash tender of money and go to the digital side, which means you can be controlled on what you do. So this digital, not that it's not a bad thing in terms of being able to tap and pay with stuff, but when they take that option away to where everything is digitalized and centralized, you'll know that the time period is coming close. This is not accidental. Nothing is happening by accident. Everything that we see happening in the world is all part of what we call the nefarious plan. We know that God has the ultimate plan and knows the outcome and knows the victory, but Satan has his plan to try bring down as many people, destroy as many people as he can before his time is up. Now we know his time is getting short, and we really do. What I would say in the time period that we're in now, many people would ask, and even talking today, if it's not just me, I'm sure a lot of you feel it as well, something has shifted in the atmosphere. And the warning that I would give to us as believers is to be able to protect our hearts and protect our minds with the things that are about to happen. We can see in the world at the moment the agenda. People are confused on what they are and who they are. Now, I'm not targeting the individual on that basis. I'm targeting the media who are pumping this out, and they're actually looking to get the governments to change rules. And I've noticed over the last year that they're targeting the younger generation. They're going for that generation below to try to destroy it, because I believe the last generation, which is just behind me, will have a pivotal role. Now, we can see that the enemy is using everything he can. I believe that what we call the spirit of Babylon, when you read in Revelation how people got drunk off the sexual immorality of our cup, it takes time to get drunk. What we're seeing at the moment, 50 or 60 years ago, wouldn't have been tolerated because everywhere was a lot more conservative. But now everything has become normal and we're numb to the things that we see, to the stage that people don't even notice anymore. That's the scarier thing. People that are comfortable with the sin that they don't even know it's sin. And this is how I know we're coming very, very close to Christ actually returning. Let me get some hydration in and wet up the throat. Some people they don't really talk on prophecy. They don't like focusing. They think it's negative. And I did a small video today saying that it's fine, not everybody is into it, but prophecy is very important. It's important that there's people like all of us who are watching those signs and trying to prepare people for the return of Christ, to be ready, but also to be in season to preach the gospel. We have a time period, we have a window right now, and anyone that comes onto this, maybe at a later stage and watches it down the line, no matter what you're going through, no matter if you're feeling depressed or low or suicidal, or you're fighting the addictions of life, whether it be drugs and all these things, know that there's a way out, and that Jesus Christ paid the penalty in order for you to be free, and you can find him. You search the Gospels and you find the truth that he lived, died and rose again just for you, even as the individual. That's the good news, and that's the hope that we have in Christ. I know another one I will throw out. Some people, I've said it before, asked about, why do we look at end time signs and the rapture specifically? Romans tells us what this rapture is about, and the blessed hope and the salvation through that is to come out of this corruptible body and into our new bodies. I think I believe that's in Romans 7 or 8, you'll read it. It's been changed out of this. And even my mum, she gets excited, talking about this, and so do I. Know that time period's coming, that we will go back to the time that Adam, before the fall, with how he walked with God and he was in an uncorruptible body. The limitations wouldn't be there as they are today. And this is the excitement that we have as believers in knowing that Jesus is coming back soon. But we should be, as watchmen and watchwomen, looking out for the signs. And we can see the wars are happening everywhere. Most of us know what's happening in terms of weather. Some of it is manipulated by man. I'm 100% sure of that. Loads of evidence is out there. They're talking about it on the morning show in the US. With Whoopi Goldberg had a girl on talking about weather seeding and throwing clouds into the sky to make it snow more. They're going to start throwing this stuff out. Now, there will be both man-made weather anomalies, but then we will see the judgments of God, which will be ferocious when those judgments hit. But all of that's leading up to the final moments, that when Jesus comes back, that's what it's all leading up to. All of the signs are converging together. They're coming to a pinnacle or to a precipice. And the precipice of that, for me, with the signs that we're seeing today, will be the rapture, the time of judgment, and then Christ coming back to rule and reign. Now, I'm very open with people that I kind of maybe think happens afterwards. I love the conversation, and it should bring us close together as believers. But I believe that we're on the precipice of change. In terms of the title of the video for Christians and the warning and what's coming in 2023, even into 2024, I never set dates. It's not something I've done. It was never something I was good at. I didn't get into the nitty gritty. But how I look at it, if we're talking rapture, when Christ could come back, the first time he came, he fulfilled what we call the spring festivals for the Jews. I believe he's going to come in the autumn, winter ones, late summer as we would call it, in terms of Jesus coming back the second time. So, but that could be that could be this year, next year. I'm not going to pinpoint. But in with the things that are happening in the world, what we would call the dark forces, the things that are going to happen, my one big thing I've been studying for a long time, and I'm seeing it more so now than I've ever seen, the alien agenda has become normal now as well. A lot of people talk about blue beam and the stuff that happens where it makes it look like spaceships are there. That's an absolute possibility. But I believe that they're going to do something probably just before Halloween that's going to change. Something's going to happen in terms of, I don't know whether the media will come out and fully say that they're there. Aliens are 100% there. I know they've been tipping on it, but I just believe we're at the precipice of something like that coming out. Now, I believe they're going to use the alien deception in order to say that the rapture was done by them, because in order for the Antichrist to step up and to gather a lot of the countries together so quickly, would have to be some sort of disaster, and for millions of people just to vanish, it's a great way to do it. And that's just my open kind of side of what I think is going to happen. What I know we need to do as believers is to prepare ourselves in our mind, and there's so many scriptures on that to tell us to do it. And I picked out a couple of different ones in terms of for us to be careful, because I believe the enemy, and even my mum talking today, things are going to get more, people are going to feel more anxious, depressed and low, and it's very hard to keep up and seeing all the bad news going on. But Philippians says this in Philippians 4, do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving let your requests be known to God. Don't be anxious about the things that are going on at the moment. Don't be afraid of the things that are going on at the moment. I can honestly say, hand on heart, 3 years ago when the last thing happened, the first couple of days, maybe a week, I was unsure. But after that, my wife and I just knew this was off, something was wrong, and fear totally left. Yes, we were bored, having to sit in and couldn't do the things that we normally do, but we knew that we were coming out of it. The next thing I believe, and the spiritual side, and all of us know that in the spiritual, the battle is really there, and that's why Paul tells us we need to put on the armour, we need to prepare ourselves. And this is for me as well. I'm not great at being sick. I do feel vulnerable when I'm physically sick, and then the mind starts to play and I think I can't breathe, and am I going to die? And that's fear. That's not something God has given us. And I have to tell myself that all the time. Stop, and call out the word. But yeah, so we need to just protect ourselves. Don't be anxious. But Galatians says this as well, which I love. But I say, walk by the Spirit, and you will not gratify the desires of flesh. Now, what that means to me is not just people think sexually, but to gratify the flesh means giving it to fear as well. Because it's a strong emotion. Anxiety is a strong emotion. And being able to give in. But if we walk by the Spirit, that should walk off and leave us. and we shouldn't be walking in fear. If I was to kind of wrap up on anything, if I was to say anything to wrap a video up, and I say it all the time, God is in control. Even with all the madness that's going on in the world, I remember 20 years ago talking with my brother-in-law, end times and Christ coming back. Things were so different then. Never did I think I'd see what I'm seeing today, how people are starting to lose logic. That's going. People are running off emotions on what to be. Absolute madness. Now, while we're still here, we have a job to do, and that's still to reach the lost. Even those people that we may think are gone mad, we still have to try to tell them that Jesus Christ is real, that he did die for them as well, that they can be saved and radically transformed in Jesus Christ. It's an exciting time to live in. If I can say anything, this is an exciting time to be alive. And we are that chosen generation to see Christ coming back. And I truly believe that the last 6 months have been such an eye-opener for me in terms of prophecy and understanding Israel's servitude and how that 2,000 years since Christ's first arrival to now had a purpose, that it wasn't just I'm coming soon and that was 2,000 years. No, little did we know their servitude had to go all the way up to 1948, which is when Israel became a nation, and from then on in the clock has been ticking until the return of Christ. Very hard to get everything in to a short video. I'm conscious of time. I don't want to keep it too long. And as you can hear, my voice is starting to tremble. So I'll try wrap this up. But know this, again, the title wasn't to scare people. It wasn't to do that at all in any way, shape or form. But to make us aware that the warning would be, Satan is out there looking to devour what he can. Don't be caught off guard in the silly things of the world. And that's not to go out and say not do life. We have to do life and holidays and we have to work. But remember that he has a plan to try to do what he can to stop you. But with Christ on our side, if Christ is for us, who can be against us? Even in the darkest of times, I believe the light comes out even more. So we'll wrap this up. Thanks for being here. I know it's slightly longer than normal. Share this out, get this out to as many people as possible, just to give them an eye open of what's actually happening, to get them prepared for what's about to come down the line as well. A couple of ones that'll be coming up down the line. I'm going to be talking to Tyler in Generation and Aaron in Godalming, hoping to do a little bit of collaboration over the summer to bring some good content to you guys, some fun side as well. But remember, God is always in control. Keep the faith. And I will see you live again next Sunday, but I'll still throw out all the little small things that I see and people send to me, whether it be strange sounds and lights and all these things really just spark off my curiosity, just to give you little indicators of what's going on in the world. You know where I am. If you need anything, drop me an email or a little message on one of the videos, and I will get back as soon as possible. Now you're going to see my fingers. Well, until next time, blessings.